Hello, and welcome to Armin's Armchair Adventures. Today, we are delving into the fascinating world of BloomsTaxonomy, a powerful educational tool for enhancing your learning and teaching experience. First things first, what is a taxonomy? Taxonomy usually refers to the science of biological classification, but here it's used in its broad sense as a hierarchical classification system of learning goals. And how about this guy Bloom? It refers to the brain behind this classification system, the educational psychologist called Benjamin Bloom. For the etymology buffs out there, bloom means flower or blossom in Germanic languages. The classic 1956 version of Bloom's taxonomy focused on the cognitive domain of learning, which was divided into varying levels according to its complexity level. You can think of it as a pyramid, starting with basic thinking skills like knowledge and working its way up to more abstract cognitive processes like analysis and evaluation. This hierarchical structure has some critics. It has always had critics. But I, for one, love pyramids. Bloom's taxonomy kinda reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's also oversimplified, but it's definitely handy to explain some difficult concepts. Despite all the criticism, teachers worldwide swear by Bloom's taxonomy for lesson plans and assessments. It provides a solid foundation for effective education. Okay, let's fast forward to 2001. That's when we got an update to Bloom's taxonomy. Since then, the levels have different names. Nouns like knowledge have been changed to verbs like remember. The sequence has also slightly changed. Specifically, the order of the last two levels have been swapped. So now we have evaluate and create for the top two levels, instead of synthesis and evaluation. This new model also adds a knowledge dimension, which goes from concrete knowledge to more abstract. The four levels of knowledge are factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. Factual knowledge refers to knowledge of terminology and specific details and elements. Conceptual knowledge involves understanding the relationships between different pieces of information. Procedural knowledge is the application of subject-specific techniques and methods. Metacognitive knowledge is the highest level, and it involves thinking about one's own thinking. It includes self-knowledge and strategic knowledge. You can imagine the whole thing as a two-dimensional model. The four levels of knowledge are on the y-axis, and the six classic cognitive processes levels are on the x-axis. So that's remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. These six levels are still the backbone of Bloom's taxonomy. Now, let's get a closer look at each of these levels with an example. First, we have remember or remembering. It is the most basic cognitive level, recalling basic information and ideas. For example, you can have a learning objective in your lesson plan as list the 7 colors of the rainbow. Pay attention to the action verb list. Using these action verbs at every level makes your learning objectives actionable and measurable, which is quite important in your lesson plans. Moving on to the next level, we have understand. It involves grasping the meaning of information that you have remembered or recalled, but it goes beyond simply remembering those facts. It requires actual comprehension or understanding. An example would be, explain the meaning of mitosis in your own words. Next, we have the apply level. This is where things get real. It's all about using all the knowledge that you've already gained and applying it to a new situation. Instead of just recalling or understanding facts, you're putting that knowledge into action. For example, calculate the force required to accelerate a car with a given mass at a specific rate. Then we have the analysis phase, which means breaking things down into their building blocks, examining the pieces and understanding how they work together. It's all about identifying patterns, relationships, and the underlying structure of information. A simple example would be compare historical events to understand their impacts. Moving on to the fifth level, evaluate. This level involves making judgments based on given criteria. It's all about arguing your point and justifying it with evidence and reasoning. For example, assess the strengths and weaknesses of a book that you've read. And now we've reached the summit, the create level, the final level of Bloom's taxonomy, where it all comes together. At this level, you should be able to combine and reorganize different patterns and elements to form a coherent whole, a new pattern or an original thought. It's about unleashing your creativity at the highest abstract level. An example would be create an original piece of music or poetry. So there you have it. From remembering the very basics at the first level to creating something entirely new at the last level of Bloom's taxonomy. Alright, so remember when I said that some educators don't like this hierarchical structure? It's mainly because they think that this bottom-up approach implies that the first level is somehow less important or less valuable than the final level. That's why you can find so many different visual renditions of Bloom's taxonomy online. For example, as an inverted pyramid, sometimes as a flower, circular designs, and many other variations. Now, everything we've discussed so far has been focused on the cognitive domain of Bloom's taxonomy. But in Bloom's taxonomy, there are two other domains for learning objectives: the affective and psychomotor domains. The affective domain involves feelings and emotions, the ability to empathize, and the psychomotor domain relates to the physical skills and the ability to use one's own body. It really emphasizes the development of motor skills and physical capabilities. These domains are not used in every lesson plan. It very much depends on the subject that you're teaching. Like the cognitive domain with the 6 levels that we've gone through, each of these two domains also have their own levels. Maybe we can discuss them another time, because it goes beyond the scope of this short summary. Finally, why should you care about Bloom's taxonomy? Bloom's taxonomy has been around for almost 7 decades, and it is still going strong as the foundation for many teaching philosophies, especially those focusing on skills and holistic learning rather than just facts and rote memorization. It's like a Swiss Army knife for teaching. You can use it for all sorts of subjects and levels. It's even used outside education in different industries. Using the power of Bloom's taxonomy, teachers worldwide, from every educational level, view the information and knowledge that they want to impart on their students as skills, not just pure facts. In conclusion, Bloom's taxonomy shines a spotlight on those high-level thinking skills, applying, analyzing, and creating, especially highlighting the importance of creativity and critical thinking. So, whether you're already an experienced teacher or you're a teacher in training, Bloom's taxonomy is like your trusty sidekick that shapes your teaching strategies. From coming up with your lesson plans, all the way to assessing students' performance and structuring lesson objectives. It stimulates every level of thinking, from low level to the highest level of thinking, as we've discussed. To all the awesome teachers out there and future educators, I wish you all the best in the classroom. Let the teaching adventures begin. Cheers!